Hello, everyone. It is Kia Kelly, marketing and vertical video specialist, where I teach you how to use short form video to market your funnels on social media and be able to generate leads and make more money in your business. If you are watching on the replay, I want you to type hashtag replay in the comments because that's going to let me know you're watching this on the replay. Everybody else can be watching this live. Let me go ahead and make sure that everything is working well on Facebook because for whatever reason, we seem to have malfunctions on Facebook because I like to share this into my Facebook group. And a lot of times it just don't be working. Okay. All right. So let's go to Facebook really quick. That's my team talking to me. I will get back with her. If you guys are joining in, everybody say hi. I just want to make sure that yeah, it's so weird. It always says private. I'm gonna have to go in and check that when I'm not live because it's like, I don't know, it just keeps doing that like every single time that I go live. Okay, so share that into my story. Okay, so that's working again. That's great. Okay, all right. Okay, Facebook. All right, we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put that in the Facebook group, hit post. All right, and so then we are live with that. Okay, so let me go ahead and make sure that I have all the screens pulled up properly. All right, and we're gonna go live on Instagram. Okay, so if you guys are watching me here live, everybody say hi. Those of you guys watching on TikTok, say hi on TikTok. I'm gonna go ahead and go live on Instagram really quickly. Okay. All right. So here we go. So this morning was afternoon. It's 12 o'clock here in California. Today is June 12th. That means we have 11 days until I turn 42. My birthday is on June 23rd, and I am excited to celebrate my birthday this year. This year, I'm having a birthday party. The theme is game night. Hey, Noel. And it is actually neon game night, glow sticks, all the things. Very excited about it. But we are here today and we're talking about fear, okay, and how you can use fear as a motivator, okay? Now, let's do a quick poll. How many of you all would say that you have some fear around your business? You're here live. Okay. How many of you all would say that, hey, Baron, that you have some fear around your business. Okay. Now, if you are brave and you want to tell me what the fear is that you have around your business, then please tell me in the chat. Okay. Again, let me know if you have some fear around your business. Just say you do. And then if you are brave, then I want you to tell me what fear you have around your business so that I may be able to help you. Okay. So if you are new here, I have been a business owner since I actually got started in business in like 2008. Like my own business. I was in network marketing for many years. And then I started this consulting business back in like 2016, right after I gone through a divorce. So I was in like the craziest time of my life, but I started a business. Okay. And so I had lots of fear in that time. And then I deal with fear too, even now as a business owner. So if you guys are joining in today, we're talking about how fear can motivate you. Okay. Today's topic is how fear can motivate you. But I am asking everybody to tell me if you have any fear around your business. And if you're brave, tell me what fear you have. Okay. Carmen's a great topic. Thank you, Carmen. I'm scared of all the bad things I heard around Airbnbs. Okay. So tell me more about that. So when I thought about this topic, I on a regular basis, I like to go through my comment section and see what are the things that people are saying, right? What are the questions that people are asking, and a lot of times I get the question about like, well, how do you deal with fear? Right? How do you deal with fear? And so I said, okay, well, let's talk about it. Like, not just how I deal with fear, but how you can actually use fear as a motivator. Okay. Now, the first thing that I will say is that when you are dealing with fear, it feels very real, right? Like when you are dealing with the fear of something that could happen, it feels extremely, extremely real. It feels like that thing is happening right now. Okay. How many of y'all would agree with that? When you are afraid of something and you are highly afraid of something, feels like that thing is happening right now. Okay. That's like if you have a fear of flying or fear of dying in a flight, a fear of drowning, a fear of whatever, when that fear rises up, it feels like it's right now, right? Like if you feel like you have a fear of failing in your business, or you have even a fear of success, then, or fear of being an imposter or whatever it is, all those feelings really feel really strongly at the time when you're having them. I'll just tell you about me, so back in the day, I had got in network marketing back in 2002. I was really young. I was very, 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 very immature, and I built a team of people. I mean, lots of people on our team, but I didn't know how to lead people. Like I have this book sitting here on my desk right now called "Teach Your Team to Fish," and that's a book that I bought like back then, right? Like super back then, and I was teaching them how to do things, but I also wasn't maturing as a leader by any means. And so, like that kind of crashed and burned. It did well for a while, but I couldn't sustain it because I was the leader. And if I wasn't growing, then my team wasn't growing. And so it kind of crashed and burned. And so years later, when I thought about getting in business again, I had this fear, right? Now, I couldn't really identify what the fear was, right? At first, I thought that my fear was I was afraid to fail, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to try again, and I was afraid that I was going to be a failure. But the more that I dug a little bit deeper, I started to realize that the fear that I actually had was fear of success, right? Was fear of success. And when I came to that conclusion, I said, well, why am I afraid to fail? And I just kind of laid out what those things were. But the bigger thing was I was afraid that if I succeeded, that it was going to crash and burn like it did years ago, right? I said to myself, if I keep going, then the only way that I can go is the bottom, right? I am going to get found out. Like I am just going to lose it all. Here's what's going to happen to me, right? Because I had experience, climbing, 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 and then kaboom. And so I expected that if I kept going, that if I even tried to go to the top, that I was going to go to the bottom, right? Can anybody here relate to this? Can y'all relate to the fear of success of like losing it all once you whatever? If y'all can relate, just tell me y'all can relate. And so I had to go through a series of processes. I had to go through therapies. I went through a lot of deliverance for lots of different reasons. And all of that in order to really like heal, grow, and to like have this belief that I could actually not only succeed, but that I could keep succeeding. Right. I was talking with someone recently about like becoming a millionaire, right? Like her becoming a millionaire. And she was like, I just don't see myself that way. I don't see myself that way. And we were having like a God session. So I have these sessions, which are called creative consulting sessions, where if you're a Christian, you can book a call with me and we talk to God. And like I hear God tell me certain things about you, your life, your business strategies, and all this stuff. It's wild. It's amazing. My clients are always crying. I'm always crying. It's an amazing session, right? So I do that for those that are Christian because we talk about God, Holy Spirit. So if you're not a Christian, you're gonna be like, you know what I mean? And so in that session, we were identifying the fears that she had around becoming successful or why she couldn't become a millionaire. And I think about my own things that I had about becoming a millionaire. I didn't think that I could become a millionaire. And then I had heard all the stories of people who had become millionaires and then lost it all. And they were worse off than ever. They were like homeless, they were on drugs. I mean, all this stuff. And so I had to deal with all of those possible things that could happen if I had success, right? But here's what started to turn around. The more that I was in therapy and the more that I was like really unpacking what was going on, I could go on this process. Okay. So let me explain. And like, y'all tell me what your fears are in the chat, and then we'll talk about them. Everybody's got them, right? And so I was like, okay, I have a fear of being successful and then losing it all. I said, okay, all right, let's unpack that, right? So then I was like, all right, where are we today? Right. I was at whatever level that I was making, whatever in my life, can't remember what it was. And here was my expenses that were matched that level. And I said, okay, what is it that you could be doing that even when you make more money, that you don't necessarily start spending more money than you actually earn? Right. And so I was like, okay, well, I can go ahead and pay off the debts that I have. So I was starting to make a little bit more money. And so I started to pay off debts. Right. So that way I didn't have this debt hanging over my head. Right. And then I was just like, okay, how quickly can I pay off my car note? Right. And I just started on this journey of paying off my car note. That way I wouldn't have this big looming, car note bill or whatever. Right. And, I just started just looking these little things that I could do that, it would cost me money initially, but then that bill would go away or whatever. Right. And then I said, okay, so like, who do I know that is successful? Who do I know that is financially successful, right? And as I started seeing who I knew that was financially successful, I said, "How can I actually have conversations with them to see where they are, where their head is at, and what they recommend me to do and read and to watch and all that?" So then I started reading all these books from people that I deemed as financially successful that were not afraid of failure, that weren't afraid that if they succeeded, that they would fail. And so the more that I started to learn and to grow and mature, right, and heal, the less that I had these fears of success. Now listen, do not get me wrong, right? So I am not used to this amount of people knowing that I exist, right? Meaning, we have, I think it's 400,000 followers on TikTok, almost 500,000. And I speak at different events, and so people may know who I am from a speaking event or whatever. I am not used to people knowing me, knowing anything about me, knowing all about my chin hairs, missing teeth, cats' names. I'm not used to that because I didn't grow up that way, right? And so I have these moments, right, where I'm like it's okay, so okay, couple moments. So if I'm gonna go to a social media event, I have these moments where I have to go, "Yeah, it is perfectly okay if you don't feel like 100% safe walking through the hallways." Listen, when I say that, I don't mean like somebody's going to hurt me. I don't mean that. Like, if it's okay if you don't feel safe in terms of, like, people knowing who you are, people wanting to take a picture with you, people wanting to ask you questions, or people whispering saying, "That is her." I'm not used to that, right? It's okay if you feel some type of fear or something around that because this is not normal, and this is perfectly okay, right? Before I get on stage, I don't show up, right? So if I'm scheduled to speak at 1 o'clock, you ain't gonna see me until 12 because I deal with fear before I get on stage. Listen, I feel like fear for me tells me that I still need God and that I value what I bring to the world, right? And so I don't show up because I have a little bit of anxiety before I get on stage, right? Me and God are working on it, but that's just where I am, right? And so I have gone like, "Okay, I have some fear here. I get to be honest." And, "Okay, all right, got it." So, because I have those fears, I know that I could, like, if I'm, interacting with people before I speak, that I may say something, I may do something, I may be short, I may be mean or whatever, and it comes off as rude, mean, whatever, but it's actually me dealing with anxiety before I speak, right? So, I said, "Okay," because I didn't wanna crash and burn, meaning that I didn't want people to go, "I'm looking forward to see Kenya Kelly," and then when they meet me, they're like, "I don't like her at all," right? And so, because I know that that was a possibility, I said, "All right, what can we put in place to help with that? Don't show up before you speak." And then typically events will assign you a speaker concierge. I will tell that concierge person, "I have a little bit of anxiety before I speak. I don't you can't talk to me. You just cannot talk to me. I love you, and I will talk to you when it's over. But please do not engage just not do nothing until I get off." And the person is always like, "Huh?" And I say, "I have anxiety before I speak. You can't talk to me because it's just there's too much going on." And when I started doing that with the concierge, they would be like, "Okay." And then they would help me from being around a bunch of people before I spoke. Because in my mind, I knew that, like, if I was around a bunch of people, that I am dealing with anxiety, that I may say things, that I may do things that could affect how they see me in a sense or just hurt them when whatever, you know what I mean? And that was something that I put in place because I was like, the fear of success, like a crash and burn. I said, "We're not gonna crash and burn, but what we will is put some things in place to help you," right? Then, as it pertains to finances, right? Listen, I do not let people borrow money. Y'all write that in the chat. I do not let people borrow money, okay? Either I can give it to you or no. Right? Listen, hear me when I say this. I do not have a mother or a father that I can rely on financially. I do not have a husband. I do not have a trust fund, right? So the money that comes in comes from me and Jesus, right? Okay? I have expenses. I have me expenses and I have team expenses. So if anything happens, good or not so good, it is me and Jesus, right? So, if people come to me and this is me managing money, I do not let people borrow money, and I do not let people rely on me for meaning, if I have family members who know that I make whatever they think that I make, whatever they think I make, I will be very clear to them, "Hey, listen, let me tell you how much money comes in, let me tell you how much money comes out." Like, I explained to my nieces, nephews, sisters, mom, "Listen, these people, I have to pay them, like payroll, I have to pay them, and so I need to have money in order to pay them." And the more that my family started to go, "Oh, people stopped asking me for money," right? But I had to, like, help them understand, like, my business, right? Our finances, right? To where they were like, "Oh, you are somebody's boss." You they rely on you to pay their bills. Once I had to go, "Okay, how do I manage money?" Right? And so that was one of the ways to do that, is to help manage people's expectations of me with money, right? Does that make sense? And so because I had this fear of having success and then losing it all, I said, "Okay, what are the things that I need to put in place?" Right? So and like, listen, if y'all got questions about any of this, just comment. I'm an open book. So when it comes to you with fear, right? It's important for you to first of all identify what is the fear. Like and go and keep asking, like ask one question and ask another question and another question, and another question, and get all the way down to the root of the thing, right? Because like today's conversation is how to use fear as a motivator, or no, what's the topic? How fear can motivate you. Is that what it is? Yeah, how fear can motivate you. I forgot, right? Is first of all, you gotta know what the fear is, right? And then you gotta, like, uncover it and go, "Okay, if this is the fear of what could happen and go bad, what is the possibilities that could happen that could go right?" Does that make sense? So, I have identified, here is what could go bad, and here is what I can put in place to keep it from going as bad as fast as it could without these parameters or boundaries in place, right? And then I say, "But what could happen if I have success?" Right? What could happen if I have success? Right? And so then here is the fear. The initial thing is the fear. I am aware of that this could go bad, and I got my boundaries in place. And then now I am aware of what could happen to go good, and then I set things in place to make it go good, right? But the only reason why I could see those things is because I first identified that I was dealing with fear, right? And then I was dealing with fear of this, or this, right? Because a lot of times we don't really know what is going on with us. right? We don't really know what is going on with us. And if you don't know what is going on, then there's no you can't do anything about what you don't know what's going on, right? It's just kinda like if you're having a problem in your relationship and he or she is not telling you what their issue is, you can't change nothing. You can't fix nothing, right? So me, I like to use dating a lot, right? I just do because sometimes if the single men's on here, I'm like, hey, send me a DM. Um, but uh, the problem with dating, right? So I have been single going on 10 years since going through divorce, right? And I'm like, okay, Houston, we have a problem. The common denominator in all of this is me. What is it that I could be doing to cause the problem? Right. And so I'm like, okay, healing, right? Anger, bitterness, whatever. All right, let's focus on that healing, therapy, trauma therapy, deliverance, all the things, right? Two, location, right? I lived in Redding, California for 2 years, population two black people. I mean, really, there's like the population is like 100,000 and there's like 900 black people. It's like a rural town. It's a whole thing. It's like a get out. I went there because of the church, not because I want to live in Reading. Anyway, so 2 years, right? Then the problem is I am self-employed and work from home, right? So I'm not out and about like people have coworkers, they do all this stuff out and about, right? So when you're home, you're not meeting people because you're at home, right? Okay, so then that. So then I said, okay, how do I still get out and meet people? Be in locations where there's lots of people. So the apartment communities I live in, lots of people. I go to all the different events. I go to networking events. I do all the things, right? And I want to have fun, meet people, have a good time too for dating, right? And then I'm getting ready to move the end of this month into the city, into a massive apartment community that does events every single week, right? And so I may not meet my husband at my apartment, but I'm just saying this is me like doing things, right? Because if the fear that I'm never gonna meet anybody or whatever it is, then I gotta go, okay, what could happen over here if I never meet anybody? And then what could actually happen good, right? And then what can I put in place to actually meet somebody? Does that make sense? Okay, all right. I'm gonna tackle on some of y'all's fears. So Nikisha said, fear of being successful and not being able to still serve my clients. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. What other fears? Let me see. Fear of running my business, leading a mentor and a team of employees, and still being able to juggle ministry. Oh, interesting. Okay. So what is I'm curious about that with ministry. 2 black people. It's for real. I mean, it is what it is. Um, okay, so Keisha says she has the fear of her business growing too big and she can't really serve her clients. Well, understand. I can understand the fear of that, right? And then I can also understand the good thing that could happen, right? So the bad thing that could happen is that she can't serve her clients, and then boom, she have an issue, right? But the good thing that could happen is that Keisha could also end up be putting herself in a situation where she can outsource it, where she could like she could train people to be coaches underneath her, having like a certification program or something like that, or where she may also actually start to charge more. So she may still make the same amount of money, but she's how do I say this? So let's just say Dakisha charges 150 an hour and she's serving 100 people. Well, if she changes her prices to 250, well, she can still make the same amount and work with less people, right? Or whatever, right? She could also have like a group coaching situation where instead of her doing all one-on-ones, she can do things in groups, serving more people and actually making more money, right? Then she could also train people to be coaches underneath her to where people pay this amount of money to get the key, and then they pay this amount of money to work with her coaches. That's an option, right? Let's see, Tiffany. Oh, so much fear. Fear I'll get on live and no one will show up or worse. It means to me. Tiffany, listen, let me tell you something. That happens to everybody. And I listen, but I understand the realness of it, of being there and nobody's there. You feel alone, you feel like a failure and all the things, right? And here's the thing. The bad thing that could happen is you could show up and nobody show up and then people are mean too, right? But the good thing that could happen is that you learn how to be a good live streamer, right? You learn how to talk even when nobody is there. You learn how to engage with people and then you learn how to handle a room when people are actually there, right? Noelle says she's afraid to go live also. Nicole, my fear is not doing videos or reels the right way to reach my audience because I'm introverted. Okay, so listen, how many of y'all have the fear of doing like reels or TikTok videos? How many of y'all have an issue or have the fear of, ow, pop my knuckle. That would hurt. How many of y'all have the fear of doing reels or doing TikTok videos? Or how many of y'all are actually introverts? Oh, that really hurt. It just popped in like, ow. Okay. And listen, it's the truth, Nicole. You could do really terrible videos as an introvert, right? I did really terrible videos as an extrovert. Most of y'all have never seen my videos from 2020. Most of y'all have never seen my videos from 2020. That's because it's 2023. But the people that met me on TikTok in 2020 know the videos. They come up on the FYP sometimes, and I'd be like, "Good God." You know what I mean? So the thing is that Nicole, you could do a terrible job as an introvert, right? And they fail. But you also can do a great job as an introvert, right? The thing with you, Nicole, is you probably need some coaching around confidence on camera and then how to create videos for reels and TikTok that you can do as an introvert. That's what I think that you need. You think you need some coaching. The queen, I'm doing market research and no one responds, and it confirms my fear that no one wants what I have. Okay, now I get that too. You're doing market research and nobody responds, right? And here's the deal. That can 100% happen. How many of y'all have ever asked somebody for feedback online and nobody say anything? That happens to me still right now. I have thousands of followers online. I'll say something, nobody will comment. I'll have a video, nobody will comment. I'll have a post and nobody comment. I'll write an email to 20,000 people and say somebody respond and nobody respond. That happens to all of us, right? But the fear of it is like, gosh, I don't want to do that, right? And the worst thing that could happen is nobody responds, right? The best thing that could happen is that nobody responds and you learn great ways to ask questions better, or you learn creative strategies to like ask in places that have more people, or you ask and people actually respond, you know? But here's the thing, ultimately, here are all these fears that we all have, right? And we have to make a decision of like, okay, either I'm gonna let fear cripple me or I'm gonna let fear motivate me. I'm gonna look at this thing dead in the face and say, I am afraid that this, and this is going to happen, but I am going to do this thing anyway. Right? So I remember when I hadn't worked out in a while, like probably a year, maybe 2. And I remember the first time thinking about going back to the gym, I was like, I had so many different emotions, right? About getting back into the gym. I'm gonna get hurt, older, people gonna look at me funny, I'm not gonna be able to whatever, you know. Then I remember looking at the stairs that were by my apartment or whatever, and I'm just looking at those stairs like, there is no way I'm gonna get up those stairs, right? And I remember the first time I tried to climb the stairs, I was winded for sure, right? And I remember the first time I went back into the gym, I only could walk for like, I think it was, I think I did like 5 or 7 minutes, and that's all that I had. Mentally, I just couldn't keep going. And then I just kept like, going like, I got 2 choices. I can not do this or I can do this, right? And I kept having this like the fear of if I don't do this, a that's not in motion doesn't stay in motion and it breaks down, right? And then the possibility is that a body in motion stays in motion. I will eventually not be as winded and I can do and do and do. And each day I was like, I may not be able to do 20 minutes today, but I'm gonna do my 2 minutes and that's it. And then I'm gonna do 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna do 5 minutes. And it seemed really small to other people in the gym when they had been there for 2 hours, but I was like, I'm just trying to get started. And then I remember the first time I did 20 minutes and I was just like, "Yes," you know? And then I remember the first time I climbed my stairs again. Now, it was all in my head for the most part. It was just all in my head, but it was fear that I was gonna hurt myself, right? But I had to make a decision of I can let this cripple me or I can do a little bit to, like, get to the place that I wanna get to, right? And so, this is what I'm saying to you, that if you're dealing with fear, right? If fear is hurting you or keeping you from something, you have to identify what is really, really, really the root cause of the fear, right? And then you've gotta start healing and maturing and growing in those areas intentionally, right? I tell people that I'm like, I love therapy. I think everybody should be in therapy because we all deal with so much stuff all the time. And I'm able to, in my therapy sessions, deal with all the things. I mean, I dealt with like a food addiction that I had because of like not having food as a child. I dealt with relationship stuff in therapy because of like my mom, my dad, my sisters, just dealing with all this stuff in therapy, and I look at myself today and I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm a lot further along in my healing journey because like I've dealt with this thing back here, and then I dealt with this thing, and then I dealt with this thing, and then I dealt with this thing, and I dealt with this thing. And it's continuously helping me to grow, heal, and mature because here is the stuff back here, the bad stuff that is happening and I don't want to have happen. And instead of me like wanting to allow that to continue to stay, I'm like, okay, I don't want it to stay. I want to actually get better. Does that make sense? Okay. What questions do you guys have? I think I got like 5 more minutes left. Anybody have any questions? Today's topic was how you can use fear to motivate you, but you gotta deal with fear, you know? Let me see. I see Mission Jack. I can see your full name. How do you price your TikTok series? Do you just same price as your other platforms? So I actually don't create on TikTok series right now. I talk about it because it's available on TikTok, but I don't use TikTok series because I have my own courses and consulting products outside of TikTok. Um, so I'm not currently using TikTok series, but I have highlighted it and talked to people about it. But I sell my products. I want 100% of my products, and I have courses. So with TikTok series, you can only do one video up to 20 minutes, whereas I have like courses that have like modules in them. Hope that helps. Any questions? Now, if any of y'all are like, "Hey, Kenya, I would love to like coach with you, work with you," I would love to work with all y'all, right? So we have options. There's a link in my bios where you can either work with one of my courses or you can book me one on one. I do a lot of one on one consulting. I don't talk about it a lot, but I do a lot of one on one consulting for businesses. Whether you're a brand new business, or you have an existing business, you want to scale, you want to use short form video, whatever it is, I do a lot of that one-on-one calls. And so if there's interest in you all, it's in my bio. But do we have any more questions before we go? I don't see anything on any of the platforms. Hey, Shalene from France. Any other questions? Any other questions going once? Any other questions going twice? Sold. Okay. Well, that's it today, you guys. My goal is always to go live every single day to teach, serve, and all the things. And again, if you are dealing with fear, you have got to get to the root of what is the root cause of your fear. And you won't get there without asking question after question after question after question. And the more you unpack that, the more you're going to be like, oh, this is actually, it could be a bigger issue than you think, or it could be something small that has just become a really big thing. It could be something that someone said to you that you actually took it on and you could just release that thing, or it could be something that is really, really, really big and it's just showing up like fear of whatever. Okay. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for being here. I love y'all, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys.